Oh, yes, everybody. This is Seahawks Uncovered, back again with another Game Day edition. I am FLEXMatt. He is Brandon Adam, and we are the Flex Network One. You can follow us at the Flex Network One. Also, follow the Undroppables at the Undroppables. This is the Uncovered podcast stream where we have multiple entities across the entire NFL put together by the Undroppables, and we are kind of getting used to this time slot, game day morning, getting a little bit more accurate posting about it, which Brennan and I vehemently argued with each other about before we got on live on air. But Brandon, the Jets and the Vikings are going on right now, and it does not look good. How are you doing today, brother?
The Jets look awful. But anyways, but Seattle, yeah, we are really coming as together as a team here. I think this is
Yeah.
I think last week was really the week where it showed us what we can be and who we can contend with. And I think it showed the rest of the NFL, man, we could put up points with anybody and we can stay with anybody. So this is going to be a high flying Seahawks offense. Ryan Grubb is he came from college and he's walked into the NFL calling some great games. So that's been a great year so far with him. So I'm excited, man. The Giants this week. Too bad that freak show Nabers isn't playing, but I want to
It's
see him
not
play.
too bad. It's too bad for our fantasy teams, not too bad for our
For
beloved
us, but yeah.
Seahawks. But before we get into it too much, oh, yes, Brandon. I'm back to
Yep.
wearing the bucket hat. Last week's hat did not bring any juice for us. I'm back to the bucket hat. Sometimes the bucket hat makes you look like a fisherman, and then other times you could tilt it down and maybe to the side, and now you look like a damn cowboy or something like that, or
Got it.
a rusty varmint or something like
That's
that. But
funny.
before we get too much into it, let's talk about last week against the Detroit Lions. You know, the game really came down to a couple miscues. I mean, it
Yep.
was easily going to start 7-7 in my opinion. DK hits the fumble. We get in a rut there, 14-0, down 14-0. We were chasing the rest of the game. You know, had that fumble not happened, I definitely believe we're an absolute different area here, different scheme. And let me tell you this. How come Detroit has all of a sudden become the greatest sports town in America right now? I mean, the Tigers, the Michigan Wolverines, the Lions. I mean, am I forgetting somebody else? It's unreal here. The Detroit area fan base is alive, well, and kicking, and not absolutely a single soul would travel there for a game. Not a single soul.
Not a single soul.
Okay, not a single soul would vote to be murdered
Absolutely.
in Detroit. Not that that's a real thing. Not that that's a real thing. Might not be a real thing, but apparently Eminem's going to be a grandfather now. That's how old you are. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
God. Are you for real?
Yeah, just announced Eminem's going to be a grandfather. Detroit Tigers in the MLB playoffs. Detroit Lions defeated us last week. But again, let's talk about the game. I mean, Kayvon Wallace, a lapse in coverage there, ended
Yeah.
up with the second to worst grade on our team, allowing that big touchdown to Jamison Williams, which effectively sealed the game for us. In my personal opinion, that was about it for us. I knew we could chase. I knew we could play really well on offense, but geez, again, in a 14-0 hole with a 70-yard touchdown, those are tough things to overcome when you're playing one of the best teams in the NFL. A lot of people have futures on the Lions making it to the Super Bowl. Right
Hmm?
now, it looks like the Lions. I mean, it looks like that division is incredible.
Insane. Yeah,
I
like
mean,
the Vikings too. Like, come on.
absolutely insane division all of a sudden there with the Vikings showing up. The Sam Darnold revenge game today about about the Jets. That's a sneak, right? I mean, you forgot about that. Most people did forget about. He's like, I'm gonna make a name for myself, right?
Exactly, he's pulling a gambit. Like, exactly, he's about to go crazy. I actually just watched that at home for the first time, which was fantastic. But
So let's
yeah,
dig into a little bit of the premium stats.
yeah,
I've got via PFF for our game last
sure.
week. Although there were times where they gouged us, but I mean, imagine that. I mean, if Spoon wraps up on that tackle against Monty, I think it's a game-changing tackle right there. The guy freaking runs at him like a freight train, decides not to tackle, wrap up at all, and thought that, his piss missile was going to take out anything that was in front of him. And he learned right then and there he's got to play the game a little bit differently. What do you
Slow
think about
that
that?
down, dude. That's probably one of the coolest plays in the NFL season. And it was funny because, like, you could see our text. Everybody who was watching that play, it was like, whoa, 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 like 4 or 5 texts in a row, just like everybody going, what the hell was that? Like, that was crazy. Monty's a bad boy. You gotta bring everything if you're gonna tackle that guy. So yeah, Spoon got sat down one time, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just it was one of the, you're gonna that was almost as highlight worthy as like an Odell Beckham one-handed grab.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
like
100%.
that's gonna be in the Lions, vault forever, and that's gonna be a tough watch. But outside of that one catch with a missed tackle, where I think the guy would have maybe net gain. Okay, yards after catch was 39, so he got him at the one
He
and
did.
went for 40, right? But
Yeah.
outside of that, Witherspoon, 2 catches for 10 yards. Can you believe it? I mean, what
Mm-mm.
incredible game that he had outside of that one pass. Julian Love, who ended up going out of the game later in the second half or early in the
Yeah.
second half, 2 catches, 6 yards. Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Brown, 1 catch, 8 yards. Reek Woolen, 1 catch, 10 yards. So what the, you know what I mean? We played a phenomenal game on defense, but it ended up being, and just by the premium stats, which are not the gospel, uh,
Mm.
it was the 2 catches by Tim Patrick that probably ended up changing this game. And then not
Right.
to mention that Laporta tight end screen at the very end of the game where Ben Johnson had just absolutely called the best play he could, considering how aggressive Mike McDonald was going to be on defense there. Mike just came from the wrong side, man. That's all it was. And hearing Mike McDonald all week, in the press conferences, in our local radio, man, this is the type of coach I love. I mean, he's upset, man. He's mad. He's mad of the game he called. He knew we had a chance. The fumble we can't do nothing about, right? That's something that it happened. Nothing that
Mm-hmm.
Mike McDonald could change as far as calling the defense. The one Kayvon Wallace touchdown, right? The one Spoon missed tackle, right? The tight end screen to Laporta. 3 plays end up deciding the entire game. That's the type of game that I expected to see from the Seahawks. I didn't exactly expect us to win that game. Let's be real. At the amount of people we had out on defense, I just didn't
Yeah.
want to get blown out. I wanted to see something unique and special. And I think we did, Brandon. What
I
do you
think we definitely saw the game of the year so far, right? I would say that's probably the game of the year for the NFL. Like, so far, I think there was more traffic on X about that game going bananas over any game this year so far. So it was great to have Seattle on that stage in that game with Detroit. With Detroit, I mean, like you said, Detroit's the big bully on the block nowadays in the NFC. So I think right now for us to show up that well, and for our rookie OCs, our rookie defensive coordinator and head coach to be able to stick with that offense of Detroit the way we did, with absolutely no D-line. When we say we didn't have our starting defensive line, that means across the board. We were literally starting our 2s, 3s, and rotated a 4th from practice squad in there. So we had many injuries last week. So I think when we do meet Detroit again, which I think we will, it will be in the playoffs at some point. It will be a different game, and it's going to be a lot more pressure on Jared Goff, and Jared Goff won't be able to just sit back there. And
I mean, Jared Goff is not catching a Philly special against us next time. No. I mean, that was absolutely atrocious. Jared Goff had quite a game. Brandon, let's talk about the offense. I mean, our beloved preseason guy, we wanted to buy him every which way we could. Kenneth Walker hits the oblique, so he will not cash at ADP, honestly. I mean, he'd have to have a great year. You miss any games at ADP, you just aren't worth the ADP. I mean, that's how I feel. Even though you could have a great 3 touchdown games continuing on, you could definitely do that. You could still hit it, but missing any games would be tough.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't miss anything from now on, he could still finish top 6. I think he could be on a points per game. He could lead the league in rushing, on rushing yards per game. And I think Ken is just a special guy. Like you could just see that play that he did where he somersaulted off of his own head while getting tackled and did a wrestling. You know that was a wrestling move. That was a wrestling tip-up almost that people do when they throw their legs over.
Why are you trying to out me as a wrestling fan right now?
You're just you're a wrestling coach. So I know that you appreciated what he did because Ken is a wrestler back in the day. And so it showed 100% with his balance on top of his own dome and getting tackled at the same time. It was amazing. Ken Walker is a superstar. I think he is one of those running backs that will end up getting paid because he is that special. And I think he'll stay in Seattle for a very long time.
So I didn't well, that's the key. I mean, it would be incredibly tough for us not to sign Ken Walker. That would be an absurdity coming from the offseason because his contract is ready for renewal. It should be a priority of ours the day after the season ends to figure out some way this guy could be the highest paid running back in the NFL. I do believe, depending on the running backs that are left out there, I mean, obviously we have like the Jahmyr Gibbses and the Breece Halls and stuff like that, but Kenneth Walker absolutely deserves Alvin Kamara money. The problem is, well, it's not a problem. We're going to continue to see this. This is what Ryan Grubb does. We mentioned this, is that Ryan Grubb's running back, whoever he decides to go with, whether it's Dylan Johnson, Kenneth Walker, they get lion shares. And they will have every afforded opportunity to be great. You can see the differential between a Zach Charbonnet and a Kenneth Walker. It was 53-38. I mean, but by the time, as far as total snaps, but as far as run snaps, it's 13-2. So we're at a drastic difference there on how we're utilizing, and that's great for Charbonnet because coming out he was a pass catching back, right? Kenneth Walker wasn't. Now, what I would love to see more is that Kenneth Walker does get a lot more look in the pass. It's 35-21 in that sense. So he's still getting a good lion's share. I mean, Kenneth Walker's probably RB1 moving forward, right? Are we, I mean, Gibbs is up there, sure. But right now, Breece isn't looking good. Rachaad White's not looking good. Bijan's not looking good. I mean, who else?
Exactly. It's a scheme fit for Bijan. Bijan's in the wrong scheme. He needs to be traded. But I think this is the perfect scheme, perfect fit. I really do believe Ken's going to end up getting paid by us and should be. And like you said, he's like, what? He's super young still too. He's like 23, 22 or something. He's not old.
23, yeah. But his birthday is October 20th. So he is about to be 24.
Yeah, which is great because one more contract is going to put him out into his prime, and then it'll be done. But
Yeah, prime
I,
being
I
25. 25 for running backs in the NFL is great. He has 1 year before being 25, so we get him all of his 24 year, all of his 25 year, and then it's not like he's going to just drop off a cliff. I mean, you see it with other running backs. 26 years is going to be a good year too. So if we sign him to a 4-year deal, 3-year deal like we did DK, I mean, that to me screams like the best front office move. And we saw that that's exactly what we did with DK to try to keep him around as we got him a 3-year deal. I expect that we're good enough with our players that's probably the contract that's coming. Do you think that? Or
dude, I totally do. And that DK contract, what a steal. What a steal of a contract compared to what people are paying wide receivers right now and what Jamar Chase is going to be holding the Bengals ransom for. I feel like DK gets a bad rap for being kind of a diva or whatnot, kind of, but he is a team guy, man. This guy took a team friendly deal in a time where we had no idea what our future was going to be like with Geno, right? So that was amen to thank you for DK for doing that. But yeah, I speaking of DK, I think he talk about the play of the week. I think he's about to have a week of weeks. He's going to have a career week, I think, this week, possibly.
so last week, Brandon, two things that I'd like to drop a little bit of resentment on is one, we knew that Carlton Davis was the better matchup. We knew that. We had imagined, you said Carlton Davis would be on DK. I said Terrion would be on DK. I think the process was correct. I think that Terrion was or should have been the player on DK. But I think
Why?
no, I believe he's the better corner. But what I believe happened was that the Lions made a business decision to pull him off DK because it would have hurt his confidence. Terrion is a smaller corner. They were playing on prime time, and DK. I mean, okay, so we knew that Carlton was the corner to attack. That's why DK got all the looks he got. Had he been on Terrion Arnold, it would have gone to JSN. It would have gone to Tyler, which is something that we had really thought.
Yeah.
It didn't work that way.
What we talked about last week, I applied that on FanDuel, and we made some money last week. Just so people understand, we are spitting fire about scheme over here. And if you really follow us on what we're talking about, I think you can end up using that if you're a gambler. We said last week that the big long chunk plays are going to be coming from DK, and when that happens, he has a chance to score. He almost scored, man. He almost he fell on the one like that he was spinning in there, and he was so close. I almost went bananas again for that one, but we said last week JSN heavy work week. We did not say though that Ken was going to have that smashed week.
Yeah.
We were worried. I was worried about that Detroit #1 rush defense to be able to move our line back into the laps of our quarterback and our running back, and that did not happen, which is very encouraging, don't you think? We really didn't see a lot of Aiden Hutchinson last week. We didn't see him wrecking the game. I was completely enamored. I want to go back and watch the game more and see the double teams and the scheme that they were doing against their defensive line, because what they were doing there was brilliant against Aiden Hutchinson. So I got to figure out what they were doing.
Yeah, regrettably enough, I don't have a lot of Ken Walker in some of my redrafts because a lot of people I draft with listen to what I say, and so they ended up getting him a lot earlier. Plus, obviously, Homer League stuff. So
yeah, you're in Seattle. You're gonna have to take him so high to get him.
Yeah, it's doesn't it's tough for me to grab my guys that I want here in Seattle, but I did say to sit sit Kenneth Walker last week. I didn't know. I mean, you don't know what you don't know, but again, the process was correct. The number one rushing defense in the league against and stout up front against the worst offensive line in the league, damn near. Plus, he was coming off of an injury. You just didn't know what to expect. And yeah, the process was right, but Ken Walker just broke out last week.
Ken Walker
Absolutely broke out.
This is exactly who we thought he was going to be with Seattle when he came, right? We thought he was going to be the workhorse. Or at least I did. I thought his profile was great for that. I thought he could handle that. I mean, he was having 30 carry games in Michigan State. Like, this guy was meant to be a workhorse. He is literally a mini Nick Chubb. And so that's why I knew that once this guy gets some volume, there's no way he's not breaking off big chunk runs. And so Ken is just fantastic, and he erased a lot of deficiencies we have in our offensive line this last week. And I think moving ahead, especially against these Giants, they're going to have their hands full against Ken.
And there's the lead into the week coming in. We're good at this. Thank you. That was great. Good for you. But Nabers out of town. Devin Singletary doubtful. Looks like it's going to be a Tyrone Tracy week. He is big on DFS this week. Lots of people are talking about Tyrone Tracy. Doubtful to play Devin Singletary. If you have like a game where in fantasy football, and I'm sorry, I know this is both NFL, but we're talking fantasy.
No, we're good.
Hey, we do what we want to do out here. We're fucking outlaws. Look at this hat. We're outlaws out here. Okay?
I actually love that Bucky. That Bucky is sweet, though.
Yeah, I got it for golf, which is nice. We're playing golf tomorrow. But if you need a spot start running back this week, Tyrone Tracy's on your waiver wire. Nobody knows about him. We have him on our dynasty team. Also, Lazard just scored, by the way.
Oh!
We got Lazard on the same team, so we're hoping for some dirty stuff here from stuff. Now, Tyrone Tracy going against our Seahawks. Hate it, but it's probably good. Brandon, wide receiver cornerback matchups has DK Metcalf in the upper tier of the wide receivers this week. Can you go on and talk about that while I look up some more stats here?
Absolutely. So, like I said, the reason I put DK on the thumbnail this week is because I do think he has a possible career week. And that's just because of who's covering him the majority of the time this week. And his name is Deonte Banks of the New York Giants. This guy is an absolute sieve and is giving up big play after big play after big play. And DK is one of those guys that feeds off of people's nervousness, and I think DK is going to get a shot early because of what happened last week with falling before the end zone. I think this is the type of game where DK is just going to dominate it from start to finish, and I think he's going to want to get some stats and stack those things up in games that we think we're going to control. And I think Grubb knows. This will be DK is going for 4 straight 100-yard games this week. That would be a first for him, and that would be really something for his career. So I think that is on their minds to get him 100 yards again this season and at least 1 touchdown. I think he's getting 2. I think he's going for 120 and 2, at least for like 7 catches. I think that's where I'm pretty dang heavy on him this week, and there's a reason. It's because Banks can't cover a damn thing. It's just what it is.
Yep, Deonte Banks allowed a 55-yard touchdown last week to CeeDee Lamb. Coming over the coverage matchups for the Browns, the stinky Browns. Deonte Banks allowed a 24 yards and 2 touchdowns. So more than 24, but obviously against Amari Cooper, went against Deonte Banks for 2 touchdowns. Over here for the stinky Commanders, as far as wide receivers go, Olamide Zaccheaus Or no. Austin Eckler and Terry McLaurin scored against Deontay Banks in week 2.
A running back crossed him up. That's insane.
And then Justin Jefferson got one against him, 44 yards in week 1. So, yep, Deontay Banks looks to be the guy covering our premier options there. And then let's go ahead and take a look at the coverage matchups for the other guys. So we have free safeties, Nubin, so rookie there. I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything of consequence here. I mean, middle linebacker. Go ahead.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett's going against Cordell Flott. Tyler Lockett is mainly a flanker wide receiver in our scheme these days. Flott does go to the slot about 15% of the time, so he's going to get some time with JSN. Good luck with that. JSN is coming into his own. Isn't it beautiful to see an offense use JSN in the way we're doing it? JSN is literally just breaking out in front of our eyes, and it's finally happening. And the first round draft pedigree is on display every single game, dude, this year. I just love watching JSN. It's really fun to watch him this year.
So it looks like the slot corner. Geez, yeah, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, as far as coverage goes, we're looking at not very good. I mean, Adoree Jackson, right?
Adoree's terrible.
Art Green, Cordell Flott, Duke Shelley. I mean, all these guys are under 72 as far as coverage grades from PFF. So we're looking at a C- and below defensive secondary. I mean, obviously it goes without stating that their premier players come on the pass rush side. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. Kayvon Thibodeau, who's not essentially a really good pass rusher, but he's stout on the line. I wouldn't say they're comparing much to Detroit, but I mean, it looks like it's going to be a very similar game as far as on the front line, something we were able to get across great last week. Just the defensive secondary for the Giants does not look good. Let's go through the injuries here, Brandon. Nwosu returns. Game 1 of the year. This is a great thing for him. We should have put him on IR. He was out 4 weeks. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's coming back week 5, which is great because this is a tune-up game for him because we have a big Thursday night showdown on Thursday against the 49ers in a game that if we come out ahead on that game, the division is looking really good for us, considering the injuries there for the Rams. And then Kyler is going against the 49ers this week, and that would be interesting to see as well. So with us and having Nwosu back, I think that's going to be a big deal. Leonard Williams is back, and I think again we're going to start to see pieces of our defense that were just absolutely not there last week. I mean, we're going to look like a completely different team. Julian Love, Boye Mafe, both questionable. They're actually the ones that hold the highest injury regard in our team as far as last week. Byron Murphy's going to be out. Likely
he's out? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hamstring thing with Byron Murphy, and for those guys, like they could push off one time and they're back on the injury report for 4 weeks. So with us being 3-1 right now, if we end up 4-1, 5-1, then we could start to look to ease him back in to our offense. But that's it, Brandon. I mean, George Fant's out, he's on IR. Abe Lucas, we know, still not nothing for us right now.
What a joke. They were talking about him possibly being back for week 1. What a joke. Like I remember when there was reports about him coming back for week 1. Something's going on with him. He's having setbacks. There has to be something going on. But
some tendonitis or something.
Yeah.
Some we need some ayahuasca to get this guy back on the field.
Rub some CBD on it, bro. You'll be good. But it's just I'm excited about this game because honestly, this is a game where I think Grubb is going to get a little bit. I think he's going to call aggressive game here because he's going to feel like he can control this whole thing. So I really feel he is going to establish the hell out of DK today, and everything's going to work off of DK this week. But JSN, I think he's still going to get 5 catches. That should be his baseline every week now is 5 catches for about 5. Yeah, about 5 catches. Is that what you think too? Like usually his line's around that. So I think baseline 5 catches. Tyler Lockett's always a threat to go deep. I think Gino has a chance to throw for 3 tuds this week because I think they're going to be able to do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, I need Kenneth Walker to score at least 1 touchdown here, but my parlays depend on it here. But this is one of the biggest favorites of the week is a Kenneth Walker touchdown. I mean, it's something that the Seahawks team look to be one of the most up-and-coming teams. I mean, we are still finding our rhythm on defense. We have an old quarterback, but man, it's just very intriguing the way that the Seahawks team looks right now because, we're nowhere near the team we want to be. That's what makes us dangerous. Last week, yes, we saw there's a couple injured Lions, right? Definitely. They didn't have Brian Branch, didn't have Marcus Davenport, didn't have Derek Barnes, but for the most part, that was the team that they're going to be in the playoffs. Now, 42 points, right? That's the thing about Detroit. You got to be able to score 35, right? Yes. But you saw they were beatable, and we're nowhere near the team that we could be. So we can get out there and throw 400 yards too. There's not many teams that can do that. I mean, right now the Eagles don't look great. It's probably Sam Darnold and the Vikings. At this point, the Green Bay Packers, right? The Saints could go off at any time, but they're also hot and cold. So right now, the Seahawks are probably squeaking in as the 5th or best team right now.
They're sneaky, dude.
With some upside, and no one wants to come to our house to play a playoff game. That's absolutely sure. Brandon, what are some of your upside plays of the week here from the Seahawks? What do you look to see here? Is it weird to think that Charbonnet might get in?
No, it's not weird because I think this game could get out of hand pretty early, right? So I think with Ken having an oblique, if we are fully in control, I could see a lot more Zach Charbonnet being fed in there in the second half of this game. So that is a threat to Ken's stat line there because I think they unleashed Ken fully last week because they knew that we needed every playmaker we needed to be able to win that game. This game is a different deal. We'll be, unless we are in a close game in the third quarter, I don't expect to see a lot of Ken in the fourth. I really don't.
Do you? And that's what I was saying. Absolutely. Like a big hinge on my parlays. It's like once I get to that 5th leg, it's like, man, Charbonnet starts seeming so palatable because of that reason. The fact that he does have an oblique. We're back in that where soft tissue injuries do could take you out for 6 weeks. I mean, just especially an oblique, like how are you going to move? Like you basically don't move. Like, hey, don't move. Like, okay, great. Yeah, that sucks.
Go right? Running back and don't twist. Don't twist at all as a running back.
Yeah. So for me, to be honest, I'm seeing AJ Barner having a good 4 to 5 catch game. He looked sick last week. Sick.
Good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Him and Noah Fant are a great, phenomenal tight end duo. Very underrated. Noah Fant can block. We looked at it, it's like, well, why Noah Fant? Why are you taking money to stick around in this type of offense where we really don't feature you very well? Well, he likes to be here. He likes to play for the team that we have. I mean, it's not hard to look at the team that the Seahawks are trying to build and say, hey, I'm a veteran tight end, or he's getting to be a journeyman. He's still young, but he's getting to be a journeyman.
He's still very young, and he is fast. If he got 6 targets a game, 6 targets a game, he could put up legit numbers. It's just It's just not. It's not his talent. I refuse to think it's his talent. It's more of the fact, just opportunity, and we're in 3 wide receiver sets so much now, which is isn't it a beautiful thing to see? Like
It's
it is amazing. Like I love when we get that wide receiver set because Ken is devastating out of the shotgun, and it's awesome. Like I love where we're at our scheme wise, and yeah, Fant could have left, man. He should have left, to be honest, and took a better contract somewhere else, and he probably could have got one.
yeah. Oh, easy. Okay, and then on the defensive side of the football, I gotta say Nwosu. I mean, he's
There it
probably
is.
the
There it is.
guy.
That was my.
We paid him a little bit of money, not a lot of bit of money. He's been essentially out ever since we did. I mean, it's another one of these situations with Jamal Adams where you've paid him a little bit of coin. Jamal had a lot of bit of coin
Oh,
plus
geez,
the
that was the worst
plus
trade of
the
all time.
draft picks, and so it's just it's tough. I'd like to see Nwosu get into the game and affect the game, do something
He getting
because
his sack.
yeah, and I don't need Boye Mafe to play. Derek Hall has been absolutely showing up. He was my preseason guy to watch, guy to affect games, and he is doing really well. I will contend that I need Nwosu to show up, give me some juice, give himself some juice, some confidence going into the Thursday night game. So I got Nwosu. Who do you got on the defensive side?
I love that. I think that's a good one. Leonard Williams, I think, is another one. He was a giant. I think Leonard Williams is
Oh,
going to go back.
the Leonard Williams revenge game.
Oh yeah, he's going to hurt this game. He's going to get after it this week. I think Daniel Jones is going to he's going to see a lot of Leonard Williams this week. So that's my guy on defense. I think he's the guy. I I would like to see Spoon to make a spectacular play. I want for his confidence and his swag because he is that guy. He is so used to being splashy. I want to see him do something pretty cool today. I think he has the opportunity to do that because Wandale Robinson ain't scaring anybody. Not without Malik Nabers.
Ooh, I wanted to actually look at that real quick while you're talking. Is he ready to go? Because I know he was questionable as well.
Was he? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you right now. Clear
Wandale,
for week 5. Play Wandale in your fantasy leagues because I think
he's going to have a lot of PPR, but that's better.
Yeah. This is what I was going to talk about. Actually, I forgot about this. Christian Haynes. Okay, listen to this. When Bradford was in the game and Kenneth Walker was running, he was stifled. Okay, Kenneth Walker did not have as good of a game when Anthony Bradford was in the game. When Christian Haynes was in the game, it was something like 6 carries for 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's beginning. The drum beat is beginning to get really, really loud. That Christian Haynes, you're going to see a lot more of him, especially in the run game. He's just a little bit more versatile. It's not necessarily that he's a better run blocker, because the reason why Christian Haynes had been out of the game is because from Ryan Grubb's mouth is that they wanted somebody who wasn't going to get bullied, basically. Like Anthony Bradford's a grown ass man. If you remember, the reason why we even drafted Anthony Bradford is because he went up against God, what's that? The defensive tackle we didn't draft on the Carter. He went up against Carter in college, and he actually held him really well. So that was what he did. He did well. He creates a stone wall, and you're not getting through him. The problem is he's not athletic enough to be able to go and attack some of these run fits, which in the Ryan Grubb offense doesn't bode so well. Right? We need more agility guys on our line. That's what Christian Haynes provides, but he just doesn't provide that brick wall, right? So we're getting him in here. He's a rookie. These are grown-ass men. These are Leonard Williams types on the other side here, right? Kayvon Thibodeau, the other guys we had mentioned, right? Dexter Lawrence. Yeah, it's going to be a game that if Ken Walker has another fantastic game, we got something cooking here heading into Thursday night.
Yeah, I think we're gonna kill them on the blitz. I really do. The like Gino is going to identify all the blitzes coming, and he is going to kill them on the back end of those and to the hot reads. And I just want to say that before we end it all here, Geno Smith is playing lights out, like
Out of his
lights
mind.
out. This is it, I'm truly. I was a big Penix proponent. I wanted Penix to be a Seattle Seahawk.
Right, we
I
still
wanted
do.
that.
We still do.
We still do. But I'm just saying, like, I just feel like Gino, man, he's earned himself another contract with us. I think he's going to stay. And I think he is the present and future of the Seattle Seahawks organization. And I'm glad we have him because it seems like there's a renaissance of quarterbacks that had been through the system, got eat up by teams that didn't know how to groom quarterbacks. And look at what's happening across the league with these guys with the second, third chance quarterbacks. And Gino, it was the pioneer. He was the one that did that first 2 years ago, right? He was the one that was doing that 2 years ago and killed it under Canales, and then that's what other teams are starting to do as well with the Sam Darnolds and whatnot. But yeah, I think Gino is a Seahawk, and he's a Seahawk for the next 2 years at least after this season.
Yeah, it's reading the writing on the wall is that we are clearly looking to 2026 for any opportunity to draft a quarterback. Geno Smith is the quarterback of our team for the next 3 years. I mean, heading into the season, I probably wouldn't have bet that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it probably would have even been the nuts to bet it. So obviously we're sickos. We'd rather go the other way. But, Geno Smith is looking incredible. A top 6 NFL quarterback this season.
Leading the league in passing.
Easily. It's amazing to see what Sam Darnold is doing as well. And then it's concerning to see what Trevor Lawrence is doing, making all that money. Right? The Jaguars, and I know the owners, I know the way that they think. They only care about selling tickets. They don't care about winning games, right? They don't want to be the laughingstock franchise that they were when they had Blake Bortles. And that's okay. I mean, keeping Trevor Lawrence around, he's the wonder boy, right? So, I mean, you could almost explain it, but who would take a trade Trevor Lawrence for Geno Smith right now? Like, I mean, just based on age and upside, maybe, but like, I think Geno's significantly better than Trevor.
I don't want Trevor. No, I'm keeping Geno. Yeah, like I'm keeping Geno. Like I'm telling you, like Geno. If Geno goes on a run, if we are 5-1, and Geno is in the top 3 of passing yards, like that's MVP conversation stuff. Like that has to start soon. If that is where because his numbers on money throws are way up. It's back to what it was under Canales. Like, I'm extremely positive about what's going on. And like you said, though, that Thursday night football game is a big marker. Those are the games that we gotta win.
All right, Brandon, you are frozen, but we can still hear you, but you're frozen. I wanted to ask this last question before we're off. Here, a lot of rumors and reports that Bryce Young is on his way to becoming a Seahawk. Potentially, I mean, there's rumors. It's just rumors. I do believe we have the type of, everything to be able to afford him. I do think it's a Sam Howell, thing where we would swap Sam Howell, maybe add a third rounder. I don't think the Panthers don't take a trade like that. I think they want a second. I don't know where they're getting a second round pick, but Sam Howell can compete, can come out there gunsling it. He seems to be a better fit to learn from an Andy Dalton than a Bryce Young would. Bryce Young seems to be a better fit to learn from a Geno Smith than a Sam Howell would, just the way they play the game. I wouldn't mind having Bryce Young, absolutely, especially for the capital, right? We're not having to trade away DJ Moore and our entire life to draft him, right? What do you think about Bryce Young potentially being a Seahawk. You hate it. I know you.
I hate it. I hate it. I'm not gonna. No, I hate that. I think because we have such a bad line, we need a guy that's a quick processor. Yeah, I think he's a quick processor. I mean, Young used to be a quick processor in college, but right now he's broken. I don't think he's. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's going to be worth bringing in. There's really no reason to do it. Like you said, though, like in 2026, that's when some real prospects are coming out. And I think that's the draft that we're going to be focusing on. And I think we're not even thinking quarterback at all to trade for like that. I really don't. I think if we're going to do it, we're just going to grab our own guy out of the draft that we can groom ourselves. And that's not broken, and that we got to repair mentally.
Yeah, right now, and this is just me, Brandon. I'm a little crazy, because I do a lot of the young stuff, the college stuff for our DFS Army pod and rookies, and then you tap into the rookies with me. But Malachi Nelson from USC originally, we were really high on him. Lincoln Riley really loved Malachi Nelson, and then he just didn't do too well. They brought in somebody else. He ends up transferring to Boise State, and he's not even starting right now. But Malachi Nelson screams to me in a very similar situation that Bryce Young was in, where he was not able to, oh God, I don't think I can I don't know how to do it with the individual things. But anyway, Malachi Nelson did, here, let's do this. Boom. Oh, now Brandon's back. God. Malachi Nelson, Brandon, it's a little bit similar to Bryce Young, where he's absolutely on the downslope, but he's coming out next year, should come out next year, after the whole college season. He should get the run next year. Ashton Jeanty is the best running back in college football this year.
My God.
So I do expect Malachi Nelson to be someone we might be able to pick up in the second or third round, or we just end up running with Sam Howell. That's, something that we can look forward, and after grooming somebody that we only grab for a third round pick. I mean, the problem with Sam Howell is we're going to end up having to pay him, which might come before later. I can't really tell. If it was me, I'd extend him next year as a backup and, get 3 more years for not a lot of money. Brandon, what is your last and final thing as we sign off this game day edition of Seahawks Uncovered?
DK to the moon, brother. All right, go put yourself a nice parlay in for DK, man. Like, seriously.
DK Metcalf to the moon. He is Brandon Adam. I am FlexMatt. You can follow us at the Flex Network 1. Continue to follow the Undroppables, and thank you guys for coming and tuning into our game day edition. This is a nice little time slot for us. It's easy to do. It gets us ramped up for the NFL day that we're going to have, and I think it's something that's going to stick with us. So we appreciate everybody for following and tuning in. Again, follow at the Undroppables and at the Flex Network 1, and we will see you next time.